Marc Molinaro is the Dutchess County executive. Dutchess County, of course, is somewhat downstate, but if you ask a New York City resident, that's way upstate. Dutchess County. Isn't that right next to Canada? Dutchess County, Mark?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Sure. Listen, anyone who lives outside of New York State or in New York City thinks we're upstate, right?
Yes. Yes.
But believe me, I know we're downstate.
Yeah, anything north of the Tappan Zee for those in Manhattan, that's way upstate. All right, so first of all, I wanted your impression of Utica, even the Mohawk Valley. We've really struggled over the last 50 years, and hoping for a resurgence. There's been a lot of state money that's been pumped into this county and into this region. And we hope we're on a rebound. One of the big events we hold every year is the Boilermaker, and you ran it yesterday.
I did. Yeah, I've only been running for about 6 years, and have done 5Ks. I do a half marathon down at home in Poughkeepsie, New York. But this was my first Boilermaker, and it was an amazing experience. I mean, really, you know how to throw a party. Every block, every inch, there was a group of people cheering us on, and it was a really, really fun experience.
Yeah, and I think for those that run these types of races, that is the big thing. It's the number of people along the route that you wouldn't expect in a place like Utica. You just wouldn't. And then, of course, the party afterwards and free beer. And I mean, it's crazy. I was asking, how do we do health and running and beer in the same slogan?
Well, you have to.
Yeah, I think you have to.
I mean, really, what else?
Yeah,
running and beer. I mean, I think that it's a perfect marriage.
In some cases, it's the only motivator for people to finish the race, like myself.
I noticed. Yes, I did notice. Although, what's the joke? What do you do when you're having a big party and a race breaks out?
That's right. That's great. Well, listen. First of all, I want to ask you about is there a Batman photo out there of you or something like that?
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, I guess I was. Well, I'm not.
Which, by the way, I was talking about. I think there's this new and up and coming Republican out there that everybody's really looking at. I want to get him on the air, and I was speaking to my producer to book you. And my wife and her friends were looking it up. Oh, my God, he's got a Batman picture here. So I got to tell you.
I got to sit in the original 1970s Batman vehicle, Batmobile. Actually, about a year before Adam West died, so it was pretty cool. And I'm calling somebody. I don't know who. Probably Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. Okay.
Or maybe it's Tony Picenti.
Might be. Okay.
Get me to Utica.
So tell me. I mean, the word is that I got yesterday. A lot of people really were feeling that maybe you have some political potential coming up in New York.
Well, I hope. I mean, I don't know about potential, but. Yes, I mean, you're right. There's been some encouragement in certainly my party to consider running for statewide office. And I've been traveling the state talking to folks all across New York. And I'm giving serious consideration.
Well, would you not be the first county executive if you were to challenge the governor? And
right.
there's a lot here. That the governor has to close. A lot of doors that have to be closed, and a lot of tough things that have happened, especially in economic development, this Caballeros mess and everything else. Is he vulnerable right now, you think?
I think so. But listen, I wouldn't run for governor because I felt somebody was vulnerable. I would run because I felt I had something to offer.
Yeah.
And what we've witnessed, and you talked about it when you opened. I mean, you can't sustain economic growth by cutting government checks, taxpayer checks. It's just not a sustainable model. And really, what we've seen, I think, far too often is a lot of headline grabbing, but not necessarily the substance and the detail of helping people do better in their own lives. And I just think that if New York's going to be successful, you've got to reduce the cost of living, you've got to reduce the cost of doing business, and you've got to improve quality of life. And you don't get there by picking winners and losers with taxpayer money.
Yeah.
It just isn't sustainable over time. It may give us a shot in the arm, but the truth is we need sustained growth throughout the state of New York, and there's a way to do that.
Tell me your thoughts on, as you get to more downstate, the opinion on guns does change. The SAFE Act, obviously up here with Remington Arms in our backyard, the SAFE Act has been something that's been very negative. What's your take on Second Amendment?
Yeah, I've always been a Second Amendment supporter. I served 5 years in the state assembly, was highly rated. But again, this was one of those scenarios where it was a quick grab of a headline and not necessarily working with different people, different groups of people to find common ground. And what we find in New York is no matter what the issue, it's generally results in leveraging people against each other. So, repealing the SAFE Act is challenging in that you have an overwhelming Assembly majority that will support it. But again, I just think a governor needs to bring people together to solve problems. And what we've seen constantly is this age of adversarialism where it's more combat than it is cooperation. And I hope and sense throughout New York that there are people of every political party who just want elected leaders to do what they say they're going to do and bring people together to solve problems.
You bring up the combat. It's almost like the Hunger Games when we're competing for economic dollars. I'm sure you guys in Dutchess County, we're all competing and hoping the governor will find our plan the best plan so that we get the millions of dollars. Is that the way?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but that leads to the kind of consolidated power that leads to corruption. When one or two people are determining how billions of dollars are getting spent, it lends itself to corruption. It lends itself to fraud, waste, and abuse. And that's just not healthy. It's not. It should be acceptable to taxpayers either.
Well, listen, here in Oneida County, I got to tell you, there's a hospital project that is underway, the arterial project, the auditorium. We've looked at over $1 billion. Really now, over $1 billion has come in here over really the last couple of years. Obviously, that's important for a community like ours. This Nano, we saw EMS fall to pieces over the Colliers debacle. Are you hopeful for, do you feel that this whole Nano project, and is it something that you guys have looked at?
Oh, sure.
What are your thoughts? And because there are a lot of people hanging their hats on that right now.
Well, listen, it is, yes, without question, there are people hanging their hats on it and hopeful that these are the kinds of projects that are going to bring back investment to this part of the state. There's no issue, there's no question there. But again, my issue is, okay, after the shot in the arm, if you can hold it together, if we can get the businesses established, unless you reduce the cost of living, unless you drive down the cost of doing business, we're going to be right back to where we started, struggling to keep businesses and jobs alive. But the fact that there's so much corruption, or at least the allegation of corruption around some of these decisions, is what should frighten people. Because again, you as much as you want a strong leader, you can't have a scenario where one or two people are determining how billions of dollars get spent. It just lends itself to corruption.
Mark, I'll ask you: are you going to run for governor?
I'm thinking about it, but it's a little bit early.
It is early.
Listen, it is, and I think that people get awfully tired of politicians, posturing for the next job. In all fairness, I've spent much of my life in public service. The next job always seemed clear to me because it was something I could offer, and the public or voters wanted me to do it. And really, that's the consideration that you've got to make going forward.
Okay.
I see you're 41. You're pretty young guy.
I am.
Tell us about married, kids. What did you do before you ran for office?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. If you look me up, I hold the record of being the youngest elected official in the history of the state of New York. I was elected to my village board as an 18-year-old right out of high school. And village of Tivoli and in Dutchess County. By the way, one of those riverfront communities that saw the downturn when the economy turned, and just as hopeful that things could get better. Served 12 years then as mayor of my hometown, 6 years in my county legislature, 5 in the New York State Assembly, where I left as the assistant minority leader pro tem, and I have been serving as county executive since 2012. I worked a little bit in real estate, some private practice experience, but I don't apologize, and I don't mislead people. I've spent every day of my adult life in public service because I believe in it. And I do. I just believe that people need to come forward, serve, and try to make a difference. And that at the end of the day, public service is about helping people.
Yeah, somewhere along the line, that has become a negative. He spent all of his life, or she spent all of her life in public service, never worked a real job a day in their lives. Really, we should be hoping for the brightest and best people to be joining in and trying to lead our communities.
and get rid of the ones that take advantage. I have no problem saying to somebody who spent his or her whole life in public service, maybe you picked the wrong line of work. I just know that we're all here for a purpose, and I truly believe in public service. I've made a difference every level of government I've served in, but I enjoy working for and with people, and I think that's what public service ought to be about. And if you can't do that, then really find another job. I mean, I served in Albany listening to too many elected officials say, we want to get this bill passed before the public can comment on it, or we wouldn't want to have total transparency because, the public will change the outcome. That's democracy. And if that's too much of a burden, go into a different line of work.
Very interesting. I took the train down. By the way, if you're going to the city, be careful on the train right now because
it's the summer of hell.
It's a summer of hell. But interestingly, I sat right across from. Did I tell you guys about this? Right across from Governor Pataki.
Yes.
Who was taking the train on his own, going down, and I had a brief conversation with him. There was a guy that was nobody thought Pataki was ever going to be able to beat Cuomo. So I was able to shake his hand. I shook your hand yesterday. Who knows?
Maybe you never know.
Maybe I've shaken another governor's hand here.
Well, that would be a surprise for you and me.
It would be. All right. Well, listen, might be a little premature, but you never know. Marc Molinaro, up and coming. We appreciate your time.